Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Negative Zone to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I am the Uncanny Chris.
I'm the podcaster of mischief, Trasnell.
Alliance Assemble.
Boom. Volume 41. Here we go. Chris, big one. Big show, big news, big announcement. This is big time.
All the biggins. The biggins.
So we shouldn't do any foreplay. We should just get right into it. We have some plugs, how the show's going to go tonight. We have some plugs. We're going to talk about who's replacing me. I would definitely recommend for the audio people, if you're listening, to go watch the video, because we have auditions and tryouts for people for the new host, and then you'll find out who the new host is. And then we're going to talk about Falcon Winter Soldier, some Black Widow news, some other good stuff along the way. And we're revealing Comic Club. There's so much just stuff happening tonight. This is a massive one. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are part of Geek Ultimate Alliance. That is 7 days a week, 9 shows every Monday as the world's finest true believer. Chris, you had a retro this week. What were you talking about? You seemed like it was a little timed with what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, so with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I decided to kind of shuffle the retros around and bring up the retro episode with Ray from Fans Without Borders, Flightcast, DC TV Squadcast, and looking at his favorite and first graphic novel he'd ever read that hooked him. And that would be Cosmic Odyssey. So if you are all into Snyder Cut and everything going like that, 4 issues on DC Universe, highly recommend and listen to the show. Next week, though, the Big 5-0, World's Finest hits the Big 5-0. So we've got something very special planned, a very different episode, yet the same. But I'll do my standard on Friday, the tweet of the comics that we're going to be reading. But it's gonna be different, but it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know what you're doing, and it's going to be a fun time, fun story. So check out for that. Every Tuesday is DC Alliance. They record live on Mondays, but DC Alliance, they talked a lot of good stuff yesterday. I guessed on there because, Promising Young Woman is making a DC film, so that's great, and lots of other DC news. Every Wednesday is Marvel Alliance. We record live on Tuesdays. Thursdays is Katie Day, whether it's Slice of Film or Star Wars Alliance, and then also Ranger Alliance bi-weekly. Friday is Superhero Discussions. They are, I think they've said they're about halfway through Batman the Animated Series, so I can't wait to see Greg's reaction once they get to the new animation style when you get Shark Joker and everything like that. So some debates going on in the YouTube chat, so that's always a good thing. And then on the weekends is Weird Science Comics Roundup with DC and Marvel. Those are going to be switching days, not a big deal. They're going to be putting Marvel on the Saturday, DC on the Sunday. You're still getting your comic book goodness going on right now. So Chris, you have something to plug, and then we're going to get into our big stuff.
Yeah, so I've talked on my show and other shows, and this show, I'm straddling the line between digital and physical. I'm getting to that point where, just now really focusing on the physical stuff of the stuff I really, really like collecting at that point. But I found this new shop. My buddy JP, he started a new online shop called Organic Price Books, and so this is the first book I got from him. X-Men, Uncanny X-Men by Chris Claremont, Volume 4. Now, this book right here took over almost a decade to come out from the first 3. So this is the very first one that came out a couple of weeks ago. It's lovely. It's glorious. He does some great work. It is online store for it that sells graphic novels, omnibuses, collected editions at great discounts, everything in stock and pre-orders you get discounts with. You even earn rewards for every purchase. So that way, if you earn enough points, you get actually discounts on your next order. They ship US and international. So Travis, that'll help you out as well. He does great job securing packaging. As soon as he gets the books, within 48 hours, he's shipping it right to you. So there's no delays. He's great at communicating. So go to his site, organicpricebooks.com. We'll have a lot of this in the show notes and in the video notes as well. And if you use the promo code Marvel GUA, all in caps, Marvel GUA, it'll get you $2 off every order. So again, we'll have the referral link underneath there to let them know you're a Marvel or Alliance customer. Again, check out organicpricebooks.com. It is an awesome, awesome new store.
Look at that. We're all growing up, got our first promo code and everything like that. That's good, Yep. So right when I leave, that was the deal though. They're like, yeah, you gotta, Travis can't be on the show. We'll give you, we'll give you a promo code, but
you will. You think Amazon's good at responding? JP, he's pretty on it. If you having an issue or want to know his stuff, he's very good at communicating sites. He's made some improvements on the site every week and updating people what's going on.
Nathan, I'm pretty sure the link is in the YouTube description. If not, it'll be there after, but I'm pretty sure it is. And then it's going to be in the podcast description as well. So it's all there. Click the link, use the code, get your stuff. It's lots of good things. So, all right. So I guess it's time to walk the plank, walk down the aisle and things like that. Yeah. So we're gonna show video. I'm just gonna make my last statement here just before, and I got other things to say, but just before, if anyone who's tuning in haven't been in for a while, like Chris said, no, I'm not dying. I'm not going to war. Nothing serious. It's all good stuff that's happened to me. It's all stuff with my career. But unfortunately, with the time of this show, it just correlates and it hits really hard. And unless I want Chris staying up to what I am podcasting, which I do not, as he is a vice principal and has kids, we don't want to do that. And for the best of the show, like we talked about, go back a few weeks ago, I did a whole spiel of like wanting to find someone good for the show. So just more or less a big thank you to everyone that's listened. There's tons of people that I've met for the first time, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's listeners, and this has just been a ball. As I've said before, I'm not going anywhere. You'll see me guest on other stuff. My plan is to be here at least once a month. I love podcasting with Chris, and I've said before, I'm excited for who the guest host or the new host is going to be, but with Chris here, I'm not worried about this show at all. And Chris, we started this, 41 episodes ago, and you are one of my best internet friends. We talk every day. We're always talking, whether it's news or it's about the show or stuff, we're always conversating, and you're great for the show, but you're a good man. I just thank you for all the time, and I thank you for all the knowledge you've done for me. You've made me a better podcaster. I hope I've made you not a worse podcaster for most people.
No, you've kept me on my game, because I was like, oh my god, I just do a little I originally started this whole thing as a little hobby, and now you've opened up my eyes to a much larger world.
This is how it felt. Toys felt waiting to hear about Buzz Lightyear. Yeah, pretty much Tim. So, so Chris, I'm going to let you do the honors of announcing it. Yeah. Well, I'm the one leaving, so it's just like, you may as well do that. So,
this was, when this all came about at that point, I gave more Travis crap for leaving when we couldn't make it a full year at that point. And plot twist, and Marvel Alliance are trying to get this a 4-hour cut. Yeah, that's exactly our plan. But yeah, so we've had and talked to a lot of different people, and this was something of a surprise and a really cool idea of bringing this person onto the network. And it's gonna be, there's no replacing it, Travis, but I think that our new co-host can definitely carry the torch for you. So do I just hit this add to stream?
You can hit the ad stream to bring the person in.
All right, we'll do a little drum roll, and it was Brent all along.
You worked that in. Well done. Well done. Thank you. It's this was disappointing for me, because I love listening to the show on my way to work on Wednesday mornings, and now it's like, oh, I already heard it. I was there. But
well, welcome to officially to become the new co-host of Marvel Alliance, Brent.
Thank you. Yeah, we talked about it for a while, and I talked about it with some people and decided, yeah, we're gonna make this happen. And I can't fill in for Travis's, fill those shoes, but I'll do my best to work in a food joke or something at some point.
You have to. I swear, I thought for sure I was gonna get a text in the middle of the tech problems and be like, you know what, it's not gonna work out. So and then you know what? But no, thank you very much, sir, for doing this. This was something. So when we announced it, and like I said, when you're watching this or listening to this past, you'll have seen the addition. But when we announced it, we did know, and that's the other reason why I was pretty fine with leaving, as far as I didn't want to leave, but I had Chris already. But then once Brent signed on, I was like, okay, this is a perfect deal, because I'm the reverse as far as Brent, as far as if he likes to listen to this duo. Anytime Brent, for a factual thing, was the first person to ever cover for me. And that was the same thing, listen to him. And I only talked to Brent one other time where, funny enough, shout out to Greg from SES, DC Alliance, all that. We just happened to me and Brent happened to be on the same episode. And I remember I hated Greg because he made it sound like I was going to be this big guest, and it was just me. And I came in like half an hour late. And I'm just like, and I was like, oh, it's just just Travis. So I was like, oh, great. But then through that, I met Brent and we talked about Spider-Man. And then right away, once we mentioned Ben Reilly, that's I was like, okay,
Yes.
we're we're on the same path. And yeah, I was very happy this could work out. I was very happy you could do this, sir. And I love talking to you. So I'm excited anytime I can be on here to be talking to you guys. But I know this show is going to be great without me. You guys are going to put out some great content. And I'm very excited to see what the future holds here.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to do.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the obvious question, Brent, but
it's not the same show. It's not the same show.
Not the same show, but that's going to be the question. So you got to put some fears aside at this point.
Okay, so if you don't know, I co-host 2 other shows with definitely some crossover topics with Fans Without Borders and then Marvel Squadcast, which seems a little on the nose, but that show is pretty much at this point, I've talked with Brock, my co-host over there, who I've known in the real world forever at this point. That show is basically a MCU content review show. That's pretty much all we do. We might touch on something else, but at this point, that's all we're doing. So and even those discussions are different than the ones you guys have on this show. And so it's fine. And you know what? It just means I'm double dipping my time. If I'm watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'm getting twice the benefit out of it. And I like that. That's efficiency.
Well, I swear on Friday you were already like, oh, up to my 3rd time watching, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's some record speed. But no, that's a good thing. And you and Chris got a different dynamic, and it's like you said over there, you don't got food allergies. But yeah, please go as always. The links will be down below. But go listen to the both shows you do over there, and we love those guys. We've talked to them. We've had a few of them on here before, and nothing's changing. Heinz said you lied to him. Yeah, we had to, because day one, everyone thought it was you, and I was like, I would like that to be the case, but it's just not. I even told some people, oh no, I asked, but he turned us down, and stuff like that. So it was good. And then Tim, because I saw you in the chat, you were the second culprit. Most people were like thinking you were maybe the person there, and we'd love to have you on again sometime. But it was a funny thing. So, and we didn't tell. I said this on DCA. We didn't tell anyone from the podcast network. Not out of not trust, but yes, out of not trust in the fact of they would spoil this. They got loose lips. They're like you can't tell them anything. So I'm happy we kept this a secret from them. So.
I almost spilled the beans to Heinz one day. Heinz, go back to your DMs. Go back to your DMs, and there is a clue in there. There's a clue in there from it's like a month ago or whatever, but there's a clue in there. And I almost spilled the beans, but I'll just say Travis Heinz there on your left, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh,
yep. That was my line to everyone. It's not Brent. He's already got 2 shows. Why would he want to do this? But no, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun, and so should we get into the show?
Yeah, we may as well. So let's talk about the Snyder Cut. It's got lots of fun. We got 4 hours.
I actually saw it, but no, I'm out.
No, Falcon Winter Soldier had its big debut. I was going to say its first episode, was it longer than any other of the actual WandaVision episodes? Like, other than the finale, because it was 49 minutes. What was the longest episode of WandaVision? The finale, did it reach 49 minutes?
With credits? Probably.
I think that's correct. I think it matched the longest WandaVision one.
But if you ask them, their biggest premiere, stuff like that, having a good time. So, Chris, I actually haven't, you and I haven't talked specifically about this really at all, because we've had a busy week trying to figure stuff out. Yeah. What do you think about this premiere? We got a new Disney Plus show, 5 episodes ago now.
Yeah, I like the idea that some people are, this is our quote unquote buddy cop, even though they did not share the screen once together. So it'll be interesting when they finally meet up, which we know obviously is going to happen. But I really enjoyed it. It was the starting off with like that. That was a good move for them, starting off with the action in the sense of the rescue operation. I think that kind of defines the show. But I think this is why Winter Soldier's my top usually for MCU movies, is because of the spy, political thriller, other things are going on. So I know. It's this first episode just kind of establishes our characters, where they're at in their lives. And I think this is stuff that it dealt with some issues that we've always wondered about, one of them being, how do they get paid? And, but the personal side. And I definitely have some things to say about the psychologist scene, but I enjoyed it. It was, what I expected. I was kind of blown away by the action in the beginning, but that they put it up. But I think they needed to in order to hook everyone.
What about you, Brent? Because you've been pretty excited. You've said this was, I know it's like your number one Disney Plus show, but was it your number all? Not talking Spider-Man, and not talking Morbius, because I know you're really hyped for Morbius.
I am.
Was this like the most MCU hype project you had coming out still? Like as far as non-Spider, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, remove Spider-Man. Spider-Man's on a whole nother level. He doesn't count for this. Yeah, it was this show. I adore the Captain America group of characters, and that is who this is all about. No, Steve isn't in it, at least not as far as we know. But I mean, it's like his two sidekicks, for lack of a better phrase. His two partners. I mean, they're not quite sidekicks. Marvel doesn't really do the sidekick game, but yeah, no, I was so excited. Yeah, I was up at 4 a.m. watching this Friday, and I watched it, and then I watched it again, and then I went to work, and then I watched it again that night after the kids went to bed. Yeah, I was just a little bit excited for this one.
Yeah, I really liked it. I didn't love it, but not in the sense of I'm waiting for more. I've said this a few times. I know this might feel like a cop-out, but I feel like this is going to be really good when we have all the episodes, and lots of people already think it's really good, but I'm excited to see it as one big movie. This had like a nice, it feels very book-like. It had a nice little chapter one, nice endpoint. I think the biggest thing I kind of like is the same thing is done for WandaVision as far as the characters. We're learning more about Bucky. We're learning more about Falcon. I think Bucky especially needs it because Bucky, I've said before, is just very kind of boring in the MCU. He's always has a purpose, but as far as his actual who he is as a person, we don't really know. All that therapist stuff was good. This amends list, though, really enjoy that. Like that was a nice little touch as far as like, that's even better than just like, okay, you got to go, help people out. You got to go, forgiveness. This is literally a list. It feels like Captain America and Winter Soldier when he has his list of things he has to check out and everything like that. But this is like the worst version of this because instead of watching Star Wars or Star Trek, you're going to talk about this guy like, yeah, I killed your son. I didn't mean to, but I did. So I think they've set him on a very interesting path. I liked the dating scenario, which could have been like, oh, they're going to give him this like potential. I don't think she'll be a major love interest, but still, right when I have my, oh, is this something we really need in this show right off the bat? And Falcon, it's just Anthony Mackie is so entertaining. Like he's so easy to watch. He's so charismatic. So I think that's a good thing of if I'll be like Kevin Feige, if he becomes Captain America, the good thing is like he's going to be a very different Captain America than Chris Evans. He was entertaining and charismatic in his own way, but not the way Mackie is. Like when he's at the bank and talking to that guy, he's like, I think I know you. And he did like the little wing spot and everything. And he's like acting like that kind of jock NFL player. It's like that's a really nice touch. Meeting his family's great. So I think it's off to a really good start. Also, we had heard about Don Cheadle being in it, but it was a nice, like right away first episode. And their conversation was really good. Like just talking about a little bit what happened, why didn't you take up the mantle? And what just a kick to the nuts type of ending when his sister has to tell him to turn on that TV and you see this guy walking up there. You just spent months, saying, should I do this? Should I not? You finally give her the shield and here's US agent. Now Captain America is stealing your thunder,
Yeah, this is now again another show dealing with PTSD. It's I think that both of them we kind of expected to. It's very obvious with Wanda, and I think when Bucky is talking to the therapist, saying like he's only known peace really in Wakanda. He's been fighting a war for 90 years and his only peace was in Wakanda. He's sitting in front of, that little like forest area in the back and he's outside of it, but the light is on the forest and not on him. He's still in the darkness. He the way the camera's set, he's at the bottom of the frame, feeling diminutive. The blinds kind of look like he's in a prison, but like he's those close-ups that they're doing. I think they're playing a fun little game of that. Bucky's only letting in part of the audience because we get these extreme close-ups. He's only showing part of his face of what's going on. And the other half, he's still coping with the sins of his past. And, his amends serve like two purposes. Internally, he's cleaning Hydra out of his head and inside the government. And, there's a lot going on right there. But, I that whole scene that how long he's been seeing this psychologist as part of his clemency or whatever, she's no slouch. She's definitely calling him out.
What do you feel? Though I've heard some people take a task, and I don't think it's a con, but like, why do you feel about like the super close-ups like that? Like that was a distinct style. And at first, when I watched the first time, it did take me back. Like, why are we so close? But the second time, I actually really enjoyed it because it was just so. It was obtuse, and it was just you're literally in their face. You're seeing like hair follicles and whatnot. So I think it was a good choice. But I like what's going on with the therapist angle and everything like that.
I think the close-ups are just to kind of represent being in Bucky's head. Just like you were almost supposed to look at it from his point of view. And at least that's how I took it. You know, not so much the first time, but looking at things differently the second time I watched it. That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like you're inside his head, seeing as he explains these different things, as he explains the 3 rules that, you know, he's supposed to follow, as he is whining about her using the notebook because of how passive aggressive it is and stuff like that. It's like you're in his head as he's experiencing all this pain. And they didn't bring up one thing I'm hoping it comes up at some point, is like, for him, the blip, like he's been through the blip like dozens of times, because for him, that's effectively what happened every time he got put on ice. He'd wake up years later. So it's like, he's the one person who should be the most used to waking up in a totally different time period and seeing like technology jumped ahead, things like that.
I really like the quick little mention of not like, obviously we know they'll link up, but that he's actively avoiding Sam. He's not answering his messages. He's screening his text. I didn't think like, I guess that's what threw me off too, is I didn't think this premiere would be like this. I know they might have their solo adventures a little bit, but I thought by the middle of it, maybe the end, right away, they'd be together, they'd be on their mission. But I think it will happen next episode, more towards the back half. I think next episode is literally going to open with that U.S. agent running on the football field. Like I could see the first 10 minutes really being about U.S. agent, because they've released some photos of him looking like in the past when he's in the army. So I think, I'm not saying a whole Agatha type of episode or one in the past, but something like that. But I like that he is for some reason he's not returning Sam's calls. What do you think about that? Why is he not talking to Falcon? You know, that's his buddy. Well, I guess they're kind of buddies.
I don't think it's what some people say is like he's holding it against, you know, Sam for getting the shield. I don't think that's it.
No.
I think
I would be
he, in some way, Bucky is the closest thing he's got to Steve left. And Steve not being there, Bucky's there. It's a painful memory for him at that point, and they're both dealing with their own, trying to, again, to the world. Cap's not necessarily dead, but he's not coming back. I mean, it wasn't a funeral necessarily, because they even say in the museum, like, vanished. And his last mission, he's vanished, and so I don't know if they know how to be around each other and not. I don't think they want to deal with Steve not being there anymore. I think that's part of it.
Well, it's that awkwardness that happens like when you have 2 best friends who don't really know each other that well. Like maybe your closest friend at work and your closest friend at home, like from high school or from college, and they meet, and it's weird because they have this connection through you, but they don't really have that connection. But with each other, I think the show is going to be them developing their friendship beyond Steve and without Steve being the glue between them. As far as Bucky being jealous or whatever of Sam and the shield, I think I will be very disappointed if they do that, because Bucky gave him, like, he nodded in approval in Endgame. And so I was like, no, I will be very upset if that's what they do. I think that's a terrible decision. And even in the comics, Bucky did serve as Cap for a good long time before, surprise, Cap comes back at that point and then retakes it at that point. But there is a time where there are 2 Captain Americas, quote unquote Captain Americas at that point. You had Steve, and then you have Sam and serving at the same time. I think Sam it was designated as the quote unquote true Captain America during that time where there were 2. Yeah, I really don't want I don't want that. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't want Steve gave him the shield, I deserved it. No, that's one whole different show. And 2, I just don't think I just feel like, okay, if we're looking at Bucky and what he's been through in the MCU and what he's currently doing in this episode, and you're going to tell me this guy's concerned about not getting the shield, that he's not going to be the next Captain America, I feel like you've read that character quite wrong, because I feel like that's one of the last things on his mind. Sure, missing Steve Rogers, sure, but him being the idol of America, him being the leader of Avengers, I don't think he's concerned about that. I think he's just wants to stop having nightmares. I think he wants to apologize to people he's hurt. I think he wants to figure out his own life. And that's why I always champion Sam being
hopefully sap Captain America when we get to the end of this, because it just didn't fit with the Bucky we have currently right now in the MCU. So yeah, I don't buy that. I think it's just he's on. You made a good comparison, Brandon, about friends that aren't really friends. It's almost like if you have a roommate situation, there's like 4 of you, and same thing, you're joined by that friend, but that friend has to move out because maybe they got a girlfriend or boyfriend. Now you're just stuck living together. It's like, well, we got to pay rent. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. And but sometimes I've seen that situation where those people become really good friends, you know, and they're kind of forced together. And that's what's going to be interesting is, what is the inciting incident to get them together? We know Sam he's still doing government agents. I know Hines is having problems about him, you know, working and not getting money. It is strange at times as far as the MCU. Like I remember I think it's in Winter Soldier or Avengers Age of Ultron when Cap's like, yeah, I can't afford a apartment in Brooklyn or something. That's like, this man was frozen in the ice for decades and you can't get him just like a paid villa or something. He can't have his own spot. He still has to be, you know, but then again, you know, look at the world that could actually happen. So I'm just interested to see how they interlink, because obviously Sam's going to have some sort of problem with this Captain America. He's going to probably go to the people he gave the shield to, or what's the deal? So I just wonder, how does that link up? I wonder if Zemo, also we have that group, but also Zemo's kind of going around. I wonder if that kind of links Bucky into Zemo, and Zemo links into Cap, and Cap links into Sam. So it's that kind of, you know, triangle going on. So I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see when Zemo pops up.
There's a lot of good continuity they pull within this episode. I mean, besides like the obvious how long this is after Endgame, but you know, the bag, the shield is the same bag that we saw in Endgame. The opening is, you know, had the fight scene in the opening between Falcon and the Winter Soldier is Sam fighting with Batroc in Captain America Winter Soldier. You get the fight scene between Cap and Batroc. So it's they have these little kind of, you know, tip of the hats that are going on.
Yeah, and I think they've actually shown him do this twice, but just like we've talked about before, just the jumping out of the helicopter, that same sort of, you know, I can't remember what why am I forgetting? His name is not Skullbones, Crossbones. My goodness, that sounds like one of those. What were those little toys back in the day that were they were like plastic. They were little Crazy Bones. That's what it is. Like, that's what I was thinking about. But no, like you said, there's lots of good referring going on here. All in the game says Pepper couldn't set a funder foundation for existing Avengers. You know, she's grieving. I guess she has no time. But yeah, and that is the thing where it is you got to suspend your disbelief for some things, and that's where you go, okay, does that level work for you? Is that going to something that really takes you out of the show or not? And that's the thing where, for me, it hasn't yet. It hasn't got egregious, especially because the whole, oh, hey, you have been gone for 5 years. To me, that's something the government would kind of pull. Like, there's this loophole, you know, it's like, it's not their fault they got blipped or snapped away, but, you know, that I guess happened. And then the government found a way to take advantage of it. So,
yeah. And, you know, Bucky helping out Yori, you know, the old man in the alley, you know, is another kind of subtle callback to Bucky saving Steve in the alley in the first Avenger.
Oh yeah, I see. I didn't even get that one.
No,
that's
call.
pretty good.
Good call.
Yeah, I that's gonna be a heartbreaking scene when he has to explain. Like, I feel like we're gonna get that, and he's gonna explain why he's there and why he's friends and why they're going to do everything like that. And I really liked the back and forth they had. They had like a fun little dynamic and stuff. And it's not gonna be good. That's gonna be a tough pill. And we've talked about this before. And I wanted to hear your guys here because we talked about it in the group chat. But like, Zemo's name being on the list is very interesting as well. And I like I said before, I think the amends is maybe in his mind, he feels he does have to kill Zemo and he won't do it. That's going to be some progression. That's going to show that he's changed. But I don't know if Zemo will retort the same way. Like I said, Zemo, I'm just very excited to see what his headspace in. All we've heard is like a line from the trailer. We don't know really what he's up to or how he's going about his diabolical plan of sorts.
Yeah, we're looking in that book, and I paused it, and I'm just looking at the names. And H. Zemo, Helmet Zemo, presumably is what the H is for, because they never said his first name in Civil War. I went back to double check. I was like, am I missing something? No, it's really not
let me
there.
watch this whole thing one more time. You know,
I watched it like a week ago, but let's one more time. You know, it's for homework.
Do they not say Baron? Do they not say Helmet?
No, he just says Zemo. Like, whenever someone asks him his name, he just says Zemo. And
So
that's
one
how
thing
he's listed in the credits.
One thing I'll throw up to some people is they don't say it, but I think they might show an image and it says Helmet Zemo on the image of the thing. I could be completely wrong, and now you're gonna make me rewatch Civil War, which is fine because
you know what? Find the image and then send it to me so I can watch it again and look for that spot.
yeah, it's right here. But yeah, no, sorry, you're going on.
Yeah, I was at first I was thinking of the amends as more like Yori, like trying to make up for what he's done, and I didn't think of it didn't even dawn on me. He's like, well, with Senator Atwood, who he took down, yeah, he didn't exactly follow the 3 rules because that probably wasn't legal what he did, and he definitely punched that guy in the face, hurting him. But hey, he gave the speech about his name and smiled at the end at least. But I guess the amends is more like taking it from both sides, just cleaning up the loose ends from his time as a Winter Soldier, be that somebody he hurt or somebody he helped who has hurt others. In this case, Atwood has hurt others. Yori, he hurt effectively. Zemo, it's a little weird with Zemo because it's like Zemo definitely screwed over Bucky, but it did not go the other way around. Like Bucky didn't do jack to Zemo. He didn't do anything to. I think he maybe grabbed his shirt once when Zemo started turning him with reading the words. He didn't do anything to him. And so I would like to know more of that story. It's like you weren't involved in Sokovia. Mm-hmm. You were framed by him for killing the head of a state of another country. You are the one who was victimized here. So I that is one conversation I cannot wait to see. The two of them face off again, and I just hope Bucky decks him first. Like before you guys hash it out, just one solid pop him in the jaw.
With which one though? Because if it's the arm, that's fine. But if it's like the Wakanda arm, his head might just go flying off. He's a regular man.
What? I'm willing to risk it.
Well, we talking about it, we focus a lot on Bucky. Let's look at Sam, and because he's our our main. We got 2 protagonists, but we do spend a lot of time looking at Sam, and I liked how we get Sam and having probably the only scene we see, Don Cheadle in, but I think it was very, very appropriate to have him talk to Sam about, basically saying, what's going on, man? Why are you giving this up? And I think Sam he is holding on to the past so much. I think that's what this episode shows. He's holding on to trying to keep his family's, boat alive, his business alive, while his sister just says, I want to move on. He won't hold on to the shield and try to take up the mantle. And, by the end of the show, when he sees, what we know as U.S. agent, the new quote unquote Captain America he kind of shakes his head. It's like, what's going on? I get where it's going, but I mean, this episode is all about him holding on to the past to a detriment. Even his sister calls him out on it.
Well, yeah, it's very interesting because I didn't rewatch Endgame, but I rewatched that ending scene today as far as the giving him the shield and whatnot. And obviously it's because Cap's right there, so maybe he's saying this, but he doesn't seem like sure about taking the shield, but he seems sure that he's going to try his best. He literally says, I'll do my best for it.
Yeah.
And it is like him talking about that this shield is, which it's strange, and I think that's going to change in the show, that the shield is not, it means so much to so many people, and it's a symbol, but it's only a symbol for the man that carries and whatnot. I think he's so focused on, well, that man has to be Steve Rogers to carry it. I think eventually he will learn that it's just whoever is carrying that yes, it is about the man, the woman, the person carrying the shield, but it could be anybody. It's kind of that, Spider-Verse, anyone can, wear the shield. He just kind of has to earn it. And I think Bucky will help with that. And it's tough because he's also missed 5 years. So I think we'll get more of that. I think that's a good thing. This is our first show as far as like Wanda was dealing with the 5 years snap, but she was still dealing with the immediate effects of Vision going. Like, the snap didn't affect her in that sense as far as the rest of her life. It affected her more as like Thanos coming down, taking Vision, sword, things like this. This is a character who's missed out on some years, who's missing his, you could say, best friend, even mentor in a sense. So I think he's just also trying to find himself, which I think that's a great thing about these characters that have been snapped, blipped, whatever, is it presents itself just countless of different opportunities to tell different stories with them, and I'm excited to see what happens with Sam. Like I said, that ending is just heartbreaking when you see his face watching that screen, and I'll be excited for his first conversation with the new Captain America, because Offset, I don't think they'll mean battle. I think he'll go to meet him, and that dude, he's gonna be such a douchey guy to Sam. Just like, you know what, I've watched the footage. You're really good. Like, I could use someone like you on my team. Like, I cannot wait to see what that interaction is going to be like. Just the opposite of how dire the Baron Zemo and that one's gonna be. This is gonna be like just grinning your teeth, like, oh no, don't do this. And yeah, he's gonna have an interesting journey, and I can't wait to see where he ends up.
What about the Flag Smashers? What do we all, we got a little tease of them. We got, Lieutenant Joaquin Torres kind of introducing like who they were. And, from the comics, he at one point becomes the new Falcon for a little bit. But seeing them, they obviously look very juiced up. So I think that's a hint of things to come. But it's an interesting change from the comics in the sense of, the Flag Smasher was a person. Now they're a group. And I like that change. I think it brings more of them as a bigger threat than just your mustache twirling bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the comics, it was Carl Morgenthau is the name of the Flag Smasher. And this, they've got, and I cannot remember her name, but girl from Solo, she is Kari or Carly, something
Solo.
like that. Carly Morgenthau. And we saw her in this episode, and like everybody seemed to have missed it. It's like she was in the episode. She's the one that was handing out the mask to all the other people. Hair. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the hair. I mean, that's the only reason I knew. And it's not, I mean, so we know her, and then we know Dovich was the name of the guy, like the souped up super soldier guy, which we really only know because of the credits. But, I don't know about this group. It's interesting. They're basically about open borders, and they're not like anti-American. They're like anti-government, period. And they think the world was better than the blip. And one thing I've kind of been wondering is like, I wonder if any of their current members did get snapped and come back and then join. Like, how do they feel about all this? Or like their families, because presumably they have family that was snapped and then blipped back. And it's like, whoa, I preferred it when you had disappeared for 5 years. Thanks for coming back.
They're not very good about knowing who their members are. If Lieutenant Torres can just walk up there and just grab a mask at that point and no one bats an eye.
It's kind of like the stormtrooper. You can just kind of get him. But I guess they were trying to recruit people, right? In that moment, they just, because I think he was with his phone following them, and he's trying to like infiltrate them in a way, which feels like kind of dangerous to go solo and everything like that. I don't know if he's going, like you said, he has been Falcon before, but I don't know if he's going to become more. And I even liked him. I love that conversation when he's like, is it true Steve's on the moon? And he's like, no, that's stupid. And then when Falcon leaves, he's like, what are you going to do? Moon stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's so good. But I like them so far. I think actually what Brent brought up made me more interested than what the show did, or at least making it in this context as far as them kind of being anti-government, because it's funny. Look at Winter Soldier. Captain America had to kind of become anti-government to prove that S.H.I.E.L.D. was dirty, right? Civil War, he had to do that again just to be like, hey, these accords aren't right. They're going to really hurt us. We can't do this. And you imagine Sam right now is feeling maybe not anti-government, but at least he's not for them as far as right now, because they're screwing him over, his sister over, and they gave that guy the shield. So it's just like he's going to be in a place where I think they could relate to him. Not that I'm saying he's going to end the show be a flag smasher, but I don't think it's just going to be like these guys are in the wrong right way. Like you said, Chris, they're not going to be like, we got to take down Malekith because he's bad. This is going to be like very layered. And I think Sam will actually think about it and go, okay, what is their cause? And are they right? Is it right to question the government right now? Because they're doing all this stuff. And especially after the blip, they're going to be very desperate to make the right moves. So I like that, especially too in our world. There was, as morbid as you want to say, there was conversations as far as like, was Thanos right? Is he doing the right thing and all this stuff? And it's like, not that these people are Thanos right people, but the fact that they go, hey, I like to bear with the blip. It's like, they're kind of on that side. And that's kind of like mirroring conversations we had in Fun for Real Life. Like same with Killmonger, stuff like that. So it's fun when they bring the real world. And we talked about this, and I think we only got a hint of it, but I'm so glad that they are hinting and just starting to talk about and do some of the race issues and stuff like that. And they kind of said that a few weeks before, so I kind of got ensured like, okay, we are doing this, but it's one thing to say that 6-9 months ago and then to actually do it. And already when Sam's talking about like, we need a hero that suits today's needs, and his sister talking about like, it's funny that, the hammer always comes down on us, like no one else. And she's not talking about the blip people. She's talking about race. So I like that there's that sprinkling in there. And even when he's going to find out more about this Captain America, I guarantee you they tried to pick the most generic white guy that looked like Chris Evans, right? Like they might not say that, but there's going to be like, oh, we needed a certain look. And so this show, as far as that stuff, really good. The Flag Smashers so far, I need a little bit more. I like so far what we've talked about today, but they're, as of right now, they don't seem mustache twirly, but I don't want to say I'm not invested, but I need a couple more episodes to really be okay. What are these people about?
Yeah, and like going back to the race issue, the whole bank scene at that point. I mean, some it's one of those things that that still goes on today, and it was one of those things that has to be acknowledged. Whether it's intentional or not intentional, it's as his sister said, I've been dealing with this for 5 years. I already knew it was going to happen, so it's going to be, I think it's going to be more like that. And, I want to get to the kind of the end credits, and it's going to be interesting to see if these end credits are going to change with what these little subtle hints are, or is they going to continue with the same kind of things that are there as they go. So I'll definitely watch out for next week, but I know I pointed this to you all in our chat. When you go to the end credits, going towards like around 43-30, you see the actor Carl Lumley, who he's cast in the show. We don't know who he is, but the rumor is that he is quote unquote possibly the first Captain America, the quote unquote Black Captain America. And definitely I've read this weekend in anticipation of that, truth, red, white, and black on Marvel Unlimited. Highly recommend. It's very interesting seeing the dynamics if he is going to be Bradley in this one. And we have the quote unquote maybe the grandson that has been cast as well. I think that's where these hints are going around. But also there's a shot that precedes the frame that says Power Broker watching. So the Power Broker possibly being the organization that's souping up all the Flag Smashers and possibly souping up U.S. Agent John Walker.
I don't think they'll change. I think they'll stay the same, because I was wondering the same thing with WandaVision, because the very first credits had a lot to do with like the rings and stuff like that we saw in the first episode. So I don't think they will. You did scare the holy hell of me for a second, because I thought there was an end credit scene, because you're like, let's talk about those end credits, and I was like, oh my god, have I gone 4 days and I've not seen like, oh yeah, it was cool, Mephisto came in and everything? No, but like
no, the way Don Cheadle kind of frowned his brow, you see that's
yes.
Yeah, it's poor guy, he's somewhere. Maybe he'll pop in the U chat, but I'm interested in that. I do believe that, because we've talked about it before with Young Avengers. I think it's just kind of like when there's smoke, there's fire, and it makes sense. We're gonna get that, especially because we probably won't have time to talk about later. But even the stuff with like the Echo news coming out of Hawkeye, we've seen now that if these rumors are true, that they may introduce characters in these shows that might even spin off to their own adventures. We even have people calling that with Jimmy Woo, which I know he was an established character in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but still very minor role. This show gave him that, like, people want to see him. They want to see him do adventures. Same thing. Maybe you get a Patriot show or him with other people, Young Avengers, whatever it may be. So it's shown that as far as right now we could believe these rumors, it's not just going to be the movies spinning off things. It's going to be the TV shows as well. And that's exciting, because if you like a character, if one tracks, if the team likes it, well, go write a show. I'm not going to say easy to do, but I'm just saying that it's the easiest it's ever been as far as greenlighting, and TV shows much easier than probably the film. So.
Well, again, it's one of those things that with Isaiah Bradley possibly being in it, I only think the line that really keys me off to that is from the trailers when Sam goes, that shield has a complicated history.
Yeah.
That line right there is the not so subtle hint that it wasn't just Steve at one point, maybe holding the shield, being a part of the program, which is what Truth is all about.
Yeah, I added that to my unlimited reading list. I've read it before, but it's probably been since it came out that I've read it. So I'm going to read that again, and definitely I'm excited to find out if his grandson Eli is going to be a part of the show. Because if he is, that'll be like the final nail in the theory that the Young Avengers are coming. And
it'll be the new question will be no longer, hey, are you guys doing X-Men? Are you guys doing Young Avengers? Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. I mean, I don't know. Overall, I think it's funny. We've talked about all this great stuff in this episode. And do we even talk about how great like the effects were and stuff in that flight scene at the beginning?
Oh,
it's
wow,
like it's so good, and they're just jumping out right off the bat with a scene like that. And I don't know. You always wonder, and you always see these people comments like, "Oh, how are the special effects going to be?" Because they don't have the same kind of budget. The dollar per minute ratios are different, and it's like, guys, they're good. They're fine. They're fine. They look incredible. That was Falcon's best action scene in the entire MCU. Like,
and seeing Red Wing in probably the most we've ever seen Red Wing, go. And I love the little chirps they do to make it, because in the comics it's an actual Falcon he has a telepathic link to. So
yeah, no, I agree 100%. The action all looked great and everything like that. Do we see the Leaper again in this series, or do you think he's like the classic guy who just pops up for every time a Captain America or someone has an adventure and he just gets away, or he's still alive? I think we might see him one more time, but I don't know. What I would love to see him again is kind of, if anyone, okay, that's a dumb way to say, if anyone's watched The Incredibles, I'm sure you guys have watched The Incredibles. If you've seen The Incredibles, though, the way it ends with the Underminer, I would love if is like the first mission that Falcon goes on with his new costume is like when he bumps into him and he's like, he turns the corner and there's Falcon with the new costume and you cut there and you see, who knows what their fight is. Their fight is likely he just gets beaten to a pulp and put in prison again. But I think we could see him like that or in something fun, because they still, like, he was, I guess, like a badass, but they still kind of played him off like, I won't say comedic, but he had a lot of like shocked facial expressions and like those suits like the bad guys had at the beginning looking lame, like it looked functional, but like they look like just these flying squirrels. My daughter actually said, "Is that a squirrel?" I said, "No, it's a man with a
it's a man.
It's a wingsuit. It's a Batman."
Like he looked so funny, like walking out. Like here's Falcon just in all his glory, looking awesome, and here he is just like trouncing along the helicopter, jumping out. So I think we will see him again, but something small. I don't think he's gonna be like the big bad or like tied in the big bad.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be like the villain version of a Nick Fury. He just pops up here and there to kind of tie stuff together. Just a couple more movies or a couple more projects. You see him at the beginning. He's trying to hijack some other type of vehicle. He gets taken out and then move on to the next one.
And then it ends with, "Hey, have you heard about the Thunderbolts initiative?" And like, really, you want this guy? You want the Leaper to lead the Thunderbolts? Like, well,
gotta be Zemo saying it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely look forward to Friday. And again, like this show being, they call it a 6-hour movie, it doesn't have much room to kind of play around with. Wanda being 9 episodes, they had a few they could go off on little tangents, not many, but they can go off on a little bit here or there. They really don't have much room to do, to your point, a whole episode on like Zemo's past, things like that. So it's definitely going to have to be very strategically intermixed.
Yeah, I'm excited. All the episodes are going to probably be around this length, like what we've heard. And like I said, I think next week will be a U.S. agent centric episode, but not in the sense like we talked about where it's just his story. I just think dealing with the repercussions of what we're going to do. And I do think that you will have Sam and Falcon meet up maybe at just the very end, just the last few minutes of the episode. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see if he goes back to that girl, because like, what a strange date. Like, she's just talking to him a little bit and he just bolts out of that restaurant. Like, not cool, man. Like, he didn't play that off right. Like, they had some fun talk and I like the battleship and everything like that, but they had an interesting dynamic, and he was not really thinking about her. Like, and I just love all the like, oh, the gloves are for circulation, this is that. So I want her to see him explain the huge robot Wakanda arm after, but
maybe she just thinks he's really into Battleship. He wasn't winning, so he got upset. Hardcore gamers and tabletop gaming and stuff like that. It's like, don't mess with those people.
Definitely don't play him in Monopoly. He might it won't be fun.
Fun fact, I have a 9-year winning streak in Monopoly. I've not lost in 9 years. I'm like the Undertaker of Monopoly. I'm so smooth. And I'm not the banker. Just so you know, I've been the banker at times, but we always take turns. So it's not like I'm rigging the game or anything, but very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, but have you played in those 9 years, or did you like win one game and you're like, I'm undefeated?
The last time I played was a year ago. So I don't think too bad. Well, no, longer than that. Whenever COVID was not a thing. So, okay, maybe it's been 2 years now. It's 2019, probably Christmas. That's the last time I played, but I did win. So it's been a while. But say, if there's an online Monopoly, someone please point me in the way, and I will be like Bucky. If I leave, I'll just leave the chat, and that's that. So.
All right, you want to take our first ad break before we go into the big news that literally dropped out a few hours ago?
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot what you throw into, and I'm like, did he throw the story to me or the ad break? But he threw the ad break, and
I
that's
threw
what
the
we're
ad
gonna do.
break.
Yeah, I'm going out on a blaze of glory, just that helicopter. But no, ladies and gentlemen, this helps support the network. This helps keeps it going. This helps keep the battleships dry. All that good stuff. So we will be right back when you hear from these ads. And we're back. So, Chris, what happened today? Finally, what happened today?
Finally, so we can say Brent, Travis, and I told you so, because in some way, shape, or form, we all had part, if not all of this correct. So Disney has finally decided what to do with Black Widow, and and some more delays have come, but also some news. So Deadline confirmed was the first to break this story before Disney officially confirmed it. That excuse me, not Deadline, but it was Variety, excuse me. Variety was the one who broke it. That Marvel Studios' first film since 2019, Black Widow, will officially be released on Disney Plus's Premiere Access and in theaters on July 9th. This also shifts Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Meanwhile, has been delayed from its July slot to September 3rd. An important note, though, that Loki begins streaming on Disney Plus on July 11th and is reportedly 6 episodes long. This means that Loki's 5th episode will most likely release the same day. Excuse me, not July, should be in June, right? June?
Yeah, June.
June. So June 11th. And so it'll premiere the same day as Black Widow does, if the schedule remains. And it'll be the first time that 2 MCU properties are released on the same day. So if no more delays, this is our new schedule. We've got Black Widow on July 9th, Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings on September 3rd, Eternals on November 5th, and Spider-Man No Way Home on December 17th. 4 Marvel films, 1 year. It doesn't, it seems
one
like
dream.
Yes, a dream. They only had said, they didn't say the rest of their slate's going to be like this. They didn't pull an HBO Max. They're just saying right now, Black Widow. I think I said it when the Wonder Woman news said it. I'm going to say it again. They've been watching. They saw what happened this weekend with Zack Snyder's Justice League. They've been watching different access. None of the ones that they have from Mulan to Raya is going to be the true test of their Premiere Access until they do this with Black Widow. It is time they did this. Bravo, Disney for making this pull. I think it's a good move to see if they can make this work, especially with Premiere Access. Because I will at the very least, if I can't see it in theaters, I've already been vaccinated. So if it's in my local theaters, I'm probably going to go see it that day. But I'm definitely paying the $30 to promote this idea.
So, first I want to start with, why do you guys think they delayed it again just to put more space in between, like hopefully more people get vaccinated, safer, everything like that? You think that's the main reason?
Yeah. I mean, look how many people are being vaccinated. Like, just look at America right now. You got somewhere between 1 and 2 million people a day being vaccinated. So if you delay this 2 more months, you're looking at roughly 60 million more people vaccinated. And at the same time, vaccines are rolling out worldwide. So that's a compounding effect worldwide of more and more people who are going to be able to go see it in the markets that are in. I bet you that's exactly why they did it. I bet that was by far the biggest thing, is we now have an actual vaccine rollout program that is working, that is already proving to be helpful in lowering the spread of some of this crap. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that is why. So
now that's where I feel, I don't think Loki will have the finale on the same day as Black Widow. I don't know if it's going to move it by much, but I feel
it'll be its 5th episode.
We'll see even then. So 5th episode, and then the finale will be the week after. I feel like even if they move it up by a couple of weeks, because originally, remember, which it sounds weird, but it's like originally this was May, and then if it's to June and they move back to May, you'll be like, well, why didn't you see May? But obviously they were trying to hope that Black Widow will be ready to go release. I just feel like they still want some space. And if it was Black Widow just in theaters and then Loki on Disney Plus, sure, I could kind of see you make that case. They did that with Mandalorian Star Wars. There was almost a crossover there where it was like 1 week. So they have done it before. I just feel like with Feige, he's like to leave things a little more separated so they can focus on one property. So I I do think Loki will be bumped up, even if it's just like the finale's a week before Black Widow, and then the next week is all Black Widow. Sure. And like Chris said, we've talked about this before. I'm happy they've done it, but this is the ultimate test. And this is the thing where if the world is still kind of not fully back to where it is the time Shang-Chi comes out, if they don't do it for that, that is the full sign. Okay, this really didn't work because people are not paying for it. People are, and we'll have to see with theaters because this week I know is projected to be the biggest week of theaters for a long time because what is it, Kong's coming out or something like that? Like it's supposed to have a good weekend. So we'll see if it actually has a good weekend because if people don't remember, it is going to HBO Max on the 31st, but anywhere where theaters are open, Kong is, I think it's anywhere, but at least a good majority of theaters where they're open, Kong is playing their first early on the Friday. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So I do think Loki will move up, and I do think that this is the ultimate test. This is, to me, if this works, they'll do it again. And I think they are banking on not having to do it again. Like, look at Warner Brothers. Even today, they signed some deal theaters. Next year, their movies will be 45 days till they go out. It's not going to be the same way as HBO Max where they're dropping their slate. So like the Batman is, as of right now, literally signed contracts, be like, you're going to be in theaters first and then HBO Max 45 days later, not the day and date. So people are still trying to avoid that. This is different because you're paying another $30. My theaters right now are closed. They're keeping them closed until like a good majority is vaccinated because they just want to get this clear. So by July, who knows? But if it's not, I'll be paying either way because I really want to see this movie. I want to see any new MCU movie, even though it's not my most excited MCU movie. I'm excited to see it. But my prediction is Loki will move a little bit at least. What do you think, Chris? Do you think Loki's going to stay or do you think he's going to move?
I think they've got enough room that they can move it because again, they don't want to compete, especially if it's on Disney Plus. You know, I think at the end of the day, I think movie versus show is still going to win out at that point. But I think obviously there's a point of entry to that. So you can watch Loki without paying anything more for having access. So that's my maybe. But I don't think they want to compete with each other. I think that they may even I think they'll just stay. I think they'll move it, and I think they'll give Black Widow its weekend and really test it because they don't want to have people saying, "Well, you know, Loki's free. I'll watch it maybe the next weekend." At that point, they need a true test. So yeah, I think Loki's going to move.
I think you guys are overthinking this. One, you got to remember Mandalorian season 1 when Rise of Skywalker came out. All they did was move the release date from like Friday to Tuesday of that week.
Yeah.
Granted, they were also trying to, get out the idea of the force healing and stuff, but they just moved the release date so it didn't interfere. 2, prior to, 5 hours ago, whenever this got announced, Shang-Chi's release date was July 9th. Black Widow just moved to that date. So when they announced June 11th as the Loki date, that was already a scheduled MCU release date.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
My prediction is that episode 5 will not come out on that Friday. I think it comes out a few days earlier, and it'll just be like Mandalorian season 1.
And you know what they'll do? They'll do the same thing at that point to what you're saying. They'll do some sort of Black Widow preview. They'll just label it
exactly.
They'll do that. See the rest of it, like maybe the first 2 minutes of the intro. You want to see the rest? See it on Premiere Access.
They did that for Mandalorian season 1 where there's the scene where Finn and Poe are like going through that ice planet, whatever it is, and Rise of Skywalker with the and Falcon. That was at the end of Mandalorian. It was like a sneak peek, and it's just like a 1 minute thing. That's about it. But yeah, I could see that. Yeah, no, I didn't even think about the Shang-Chi thing as far as like that that was still overlapping. So yeah, I will say that you're probably right now, but just for what I said 20 minutes ago, I'll do the devil's advocate and stand by it. So just in case I'm right, I go, look, I was right. But no, that's a good. I think the Tuesday is probably the safer bet, though. And yeah, that's going to be interesting. I know it's so fun because that was the other thing I saw. And this is not how I subscribe to Loki being moved up, but people were like, oh well, if you don't have Loki in May, there's going to be such an MCU drought. It's like, guys, we just had like
not a drought.
Yeah. We just had over a year. Like, if we can survive a few months from Falcon Winter Soldier to Loki to what we had last year, where we had 0 MCU, Marvel stuff, bar New Mutants and a few little projects here that weren't comics and animation, stuff like that. So yeah, that is interesting. I think they'll be rolling, and then I would imagine by December, if theaters are open, there'll be more rocking and rolling. But I will be interested, let's say, if this does it, Shang-Chi does it, and then the Eternals does it, what happens to Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man is not is not their baby, right? It's like they're friends with Spider-Man, but they can't make that call to put on Disney Plus, right? And that's saying they can't make that call to do premium access. And Sony, we talked about this months ago, but they did the whole like, well, we're gonna keep delaying movies, so no $200 million, blah blah blah, whatever it is. They delayed Venom to September, which is too early because it should be delayed to like 2058 when I can maybe be like excited to see this movie. But it'll be interesting what happens with Spider-Man if they keep doing premiere access and we get to Spider-Man time. What's Sony gonna do? Or if Sony's I still, for some reason, I just have it in my gut that and Batman, because those are the two like comic movies I want to see the most, are going to get delayed one more time. I really don't want to see Spider-Man get delayed one more time, especially if we're hoping these rumors are true about multiverse stuff. But I still think it's going to get delayed one more time because it's Sony, but I don't know for sure. Well, that's obviously so long from now, right?
I mean, Variety said that for Shang-Chi, they're still planning on traditional theatrical, but they're not going to tell you anything else. They're not going to tell you premiere access prior to that. But for all the reasons you would delay Black Widow to the 9th, well, that compounds the further and further into the year you go. The more and more vaccines, the more and more rolled out. So I don't know. They could put Spider-Man on premiere access, but man, that would be the biggest sign ever of the two of them working together. Because half, if not, well, probably 3/4 of, based on the current revenue split, 3/4 of that money would probably be going to Sony. So that would be an interesting conversation to sit in on for sure.
Yeah, and I know we've said it. I know Brent, you've talked about it a lot on fans and comparing, HBO's move of putting the whole slate, Warner's slate, on HBO for the year. Disney didn't need to do that. They don't have to, and they still don't need to pull that trigger on the rest of this year for the MCU. They don't. They want to test it this way to see if they can. Again, no one's kidding themselves. Disney's not kidding themselves that this is not going to be $1 billion movie. Period. They know they're going to be redoing all their estimates of what they can do. However, they will at least make more quote unquote money getting it from possibly theaters and premiere access at that point. Because my wife said it today. She says, if we can see it in the theater, great, but basically we're paying still maybe just a little bit more, because our theater, usually it's like $24 for $12 for us to see a movie at that point. We don't do the food or anything like that. So we'll pay a little bit more for the convenience just to have it so that we can watch it at any point. But, they're still it'll be interesting to see if and when they release those kind of figures for the box office.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? It's gonna be like, what's gonna be that first film that really starts showing that box office is really back? I do think it's interesting because we have these movies out there like Tom and Jerry and Chaos Walking, like movies that to me were never gonna do anything, and like New Mutants. Tenet was that first one where it's like, okay, this did not do that well, but that was in the midst of the pandemic being one of the worst times, right? So I still think people do underestimate how many people are going to go back to theaters. Am I not agreeing with people saying, hey, it might just be more blockbusters? Yeah, I could see that. I could see more special events, but not just because people are missing it, just because there are some people that unfortunately they don't care. Even if they're not vaccinated, they're going to go. Yeah. Like we've seen this, people going to concerts in the middle of the pandemic and not really
or just
caring.
Miami.
So, yeah,
just
exactly.
Miami.
Yeah, so that's the thing where it's like, I don't even think it's because of the excitement. I think it's just because some people are just really selfish and dumb that they may be like, oh, I really want to see Black Widow. I want to see it on the big screen. It'll just be interesting to see. And I do think they want to get, I think one of the main reasons they want to get off premiere access is because the next day, Ray Last Dragon, that was everywhere as far as tweets and stuff. It's already leaked on torrents and stuff. Zack Snyder's Justice League leaked the morning of before release, right? That's one more problem you have with going to the streaming services. It has a lot more opportunity to get caught right in the middle of it. There's more hands on it. There's more people. Much more easier than to slip a projection from the TV screen or someone recording it to, hey, there's just somebody that works there that slips it to somebody and says, hey, give me some money and you'll put this on your torrent site, and then it's gone like wildfire. So that is the thing where I think they want to help get rid of, because I guarantee you Black Widow, unfortunately, the next day or two, it will be out there. You'll be able to stream it. You'll be able to watch it for free if you want to. And they don't want that, because I think that hurts them big time. Like still they can make a profit off it, but I think if they can cut out that middleman, they really want to get back to that. They're smaller films. They don't care. But like, what was that, like Useless and the Squirrel, whatever that movie is on Disney Plus? Like, they don't care if anyone's going to, I watched an hour of it. I watched an hour of it and that felt like a 6-hour movie. It was woo. But like that's a movie they don't care. Like, okay, sure, the torrenters get that, that's fine. But these big movies, these blockbusters, they don't want that happening. So I agree with Brennan as far as we're saying. They will wait again. They're not going to say anything until they have to do it. And if Black Widow performs well, and that's the same thing. If no matter what it does in Premier Access, it still does good or better than expected in theaters, they'll go, well, maybe we don't need Premier Access at all, so let's not do it. And even by then, hopefully numbers are better. People are going out there being safe. So we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. But yeah, that's the big news of the week. So I'd say that definitely covers our news. So do you want to do one more ad break? Or you just want to head into?
We'll do one more ad break, and then we'll do the fact or fiction, and then the big comic club reveal, and then we'll get out of here. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know the routine, and we're gonna do that routine right now. All right, we're back. So I should have used that opportunity to pull the polls, which I did not.
I will read listener question, or at least a fan of yours wrote into me. He didn't want to write into you. So
that's not good. I don't know if that feels like a good fan of mine. No, it's gonna be like.
So I will read this while you're pulling out the fact or fiction. Hey Travis, it's me, Carl.
Oh no! Oh no! Come on!
I couldn't let this episode go by without at least saying something. I've listened to Marvel Alliance every week since it started, and to get the news that you're leaving was the best day of my life. I only stayed I only stayed with the show because Chris is awesome, smart, funny, handsome, and his voice melts my soul. Thank you. But I won't lie. Now, as the time actually nears, I think I'll actually miss your stupid, whiny voice every week. But you do put a lot of effort in, so I guess it's only fair to give you credit for all the hard work you do and say thanks for the entertainment so far. Enough of the soppiness. I have two questions. One, what has been the most standout moment for you since starting? And two, if you could choose any Marvel character to replace you and Chris, who would it be?
Well, thanks, Carl. Now people know why I like it over here at Geek Ultimate Alliance so much, because the fans are nice. You notice that Geek First, the trial, they hate me over there. I'm like lowest totem pole, it's all that's a fan of ours. And yeah, thanks, Carl. And then like this guy, like for Christmas, he sent me a boob. It's like a whatever, like a stress boob. Yeah, he sent me this. All these other people got these gifts, video games. So like, I got a stress boob, So thanks as always, you dirtbag. Favorite moments or whatnot. Well, I think there was a cast. I can't remember which one was a few weeks ago where we didn't have any news. I think it was the very first time Mephisto was in the chat and everything like that. And we were just like laughing and having such a good time. But honestly, I think the one as far as just like having that main event feel, and that was big, and it's by coincidence Brendan's here, is when we did the Disney Investors Call after, because that was such an exciting day of like, I think that was our first, because like when we started this podcast in the middle of COVID, I was like, oh, things will get better. We'll soon get our movies. We'll soon get WandaVision. And I was like, no, you're not getting that. No, you're not getting that. But the Investors Day was like, we're getting that, and it's all here. And there was announcements that we knew about, announcements we had no idea about, like Haley Steinfeld and Hawkeye. There was so many announcements that like, it was just so much fun to talk about. And even just like, I remember too, there was a string of probably 6 to 7 weeks where every story was some rumor of Spider-Man. And that was just a kind of funny reoccurring joke of like, really? Okay, we're going to talk about William Dafoe. Oh, Doc Ock's in it. Okay. So yeah, I think those kind of three. But yeah, as far as the main one, I think that Investors Day called up, because that was just fun. We had us three on their hinds, and it was just like so many announcements, so many angles. And I like that. I like that main event feel. But no, it's been a pleasure. And what characters would replace us as far as like,
if we'll replace, who would you choose as a Marvel hero to replace you to host with me?
Ooh, so it's you hosting the show, but I have a Marvel character replacing me.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, let's see. I feel like if you can get him to be watching TV shows and whatnot, I feel like Rocket Raccoon has a great podcast. Like he could be the Howard Stern of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. Like we would have to put like X-rated rate on these, but like I feel like he could just have good takes. Obviously, if he's just retired from his fighting business, and like I think that you and him, because you're so much like you have much more intellect than I. So me versus Rocket, I think we're on the same level, but Rocket, I feel like isn't even a little lower. So I feel like that would be fun, just trying to see you have to deal with his shenanigans. Like you have to deal with my food puns and stuff. Like dealing with Rocket, that'd be something. So yeah, Rocket Raccoon would be my pick.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. We actually have a question from All in the Game in the chat as you're finishing pulling up Fact or Fictions. With Cougar show running the Disney Plus Wakanda show, that leaves Ironheart and Armor Wars needing showrunners. Thoughts? Rick Famuyiwa, dope in 3 episodes of Mandalorian would be cool, like Deborah Chow doing Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but I still think he'll end up doing something Star Wars, in my opinion. I wouldn't be against that. I like Dope a lot. I was really excited when he was going to direct The Flash, but I just feel like he likes that world. He's gone back a few times. It could happen. They work in the family. Look at Jon Favreau. There was rumors way back ago that she's doing Obi-Wan, but I think Chris recovered that. Remember when Deborah Chow was being like talked with Kevin Feige? So it's like it can happen, but I think you would see him do something Star Wars first. But hey, dude, that's sounded great to me. Talent on one of these shows, sure.
Yeah, I'm so bad with directors. But I've seen him a bunch of times. So, but yeah, Rick Famuyiwa would definitely be on there. I think what was Robert Rodriguez, doing some stuff. I mean, Armor Wars could be definitely, if he does an episode or two of that. He's very good at action sequence. Mandalorian showed that, so that would be. I know he's doing the Boba Fett series, but it would be cool having him just drop in to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's more likely to do Star Wars. I wouldn't complain though at all. Actually, with these specific ones mentioned here by All in the Game, like Ironheart or Armor Wars, you know what? Jon Favreau. Yeah, of course, he's show running Mandalorian. Get him to come in here for one of these and have him do one of these, kind of a return home to the guy that started it all. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be really fun. I don't know which one I'd want him more, because you have like Iron Man, like almost the recreating history of restarting Iron Man, but then I'd like to see what he would do with Don Cheadle, because he still cast him. Like, yeah, I know he was a replacement, but he chose that replacement, so that'd be really fun. Even though he probably has the weight of the shoulders on him as far as Star Wars goes, but hey, one day it could happen. So
yep.
All right.
Let's
start with the one for Fact or Fiction that I was excited about, but everyone just crapped on and gave me fiction. So it didn't happen for me. But Tom Holland's Spider-Man will turn into Man Spider in the next 10 years. Fiction, 83%, fact, 17%. You know what? I want to see it. I still think it's possible. I think, Brent, where were you on that one?
I voted fiction, but I feel like your best chance would be like a Mysterio sequence or something like that. Like that'd be your best shot at seeing it, I think.
Fact or Fiction, Thor 5 will happen, starring Chris Hemsworth. Fact, 90%. Fiction, 10%. I get it. I get why some people might see, like, on the surface, why it's such an easy question. It's just, like I said before, we for sure didn't know that, hey, who's going to get the first Thor movie out of the trilogy, right? And yeah, he wants to stick around, but I still wonder what could happen. But I'm still fact on it, too. I thought I should, just throw that out there. I'm guessing you were fact on that one, Brent.
I'd put the caveat of it might be like Odinson or something like that. Like if Jane has the hammer, if she's the mighty Thor, but a Chris Hemsworth led movie. Yes, definitely fact.
And then Fact or Fiction, other than Bucky, a character who is primarily known as a villain will join the Avengers roster one day. Fact, 91%, fiction, 9%. So lots of not in the middle ones. People are feeling very strongly about this. I hope it's true. I like all that. Brent, did you have anybody in particular you could see join the roster one day?
It's tough because like the big villains that from the comics, that have joined. Hawkeye, Wanda, Quicksilver, like they've all joined already. Like they've all been there, like all the big ones. I don't know though. I could see it happening. Not necessarily someone like Zemo, but I'm going to put it to Echo potentially. We don't know what Echo. She's going to probably be antagonistic at least. And she, in the comics, when she started off, she was working for the Kingpin and eventually she turned it around. So if that counts, that would be my guess. Otherwise, and we know we're going to see her in Hawkeye. Otherwise, I don't know. I think it's very possible. I just don't have any other names off the top of my head.
There we go. So Chris, do you have some fact or fictions?
I do. So
you're up next week, Brent. You're taking the driving wheel.
Hosting and fact or fictions.
But yeah, that's true. Lots of pressure. Apparently not if you listen to the questions. Everyone's just here for Chris, so good for you.
All right, so my first one, the Infinity Stones will come back into the play in the MCU within 10 years.
Fact. I think so like you're talking like an actual stone, right? It's back.
Stones, something about the stones are coming back.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're just they're too big in the pop culture zeitgeist as well to keep away. It's kind of like The Ring, how somehow The Ring found its way in the Hobbit trilogy. I know it's there, but it became a thing of like, well, there's this thing and blah blah blah. So I could see, and obviously you're not talking prequels. I could see it coming back. It's already been talked about, like Wanda having the stone kind of in her. I'm not saying she would materialize out, but I think there's ways to bring it back.
Oh,
It back.
yes, it's a fact. It's happening.
All right, next one. The MCU will not reboot the series Runaways or Cloak and Dagger, but will instead bring some of these characters into the MCU as supporting cast for other shows/movies.
Do you mean ever?
No, I mean like they're not going to reboot the shows. They're just going to more take the characters. Like the shows aren't coming back. So yeah, ever. They'll more take the characters and reboot the shows.
That one's tough because I could see them rebooting Runaways. I could see that because it's just like people talked a lot that they like the show. I really like the show, but it isn't as close to the comics as some would have liked it to be. So I'll say fiction in that sense. Cloak and Dagger, I could see them just doing the characters, them being another project. But Runaways is one that I could see having some life, and even if it's like an animated show, like that'd be a great kids animated show in that sense. If we've talked about it before, where Disney Plus wants to start doing that stuff, so I think I'll say fiction.
If you had said like within 5 years or something like that, sure. But it's the ever that's really throwing me because like no, eventually they're gonna come back. So. Yeah, I think both. I think both will come back as their own properties. Maybe not first, but I think they'll both come back as their own properties eventually.
Yeah, I'll say fiction. I think we might be lucky enough to get one of them back, and I think Runaways is the easiest one to bring back at that point. If we're going to have a Young Avengers / Champions, maybe they get kind of introduced, and then they get the offshoots of both. So.
And on the last factor, I just want to bring what All in the Game said is like, could we see Doom forming an alliance against a real big bad? Yeah, it's happened before, but I don't know if I count that as like him being on the Avengers. I count that as just like a partnership. I want someone that has an Avengers key card that's sleeping in there, that's in the cafeteria, and Victor Von Doom is not sleeping in a bunk bed with with Vision or something like that. I want, like I said before, I don't think it would be him, but I could see someone reliably like a Killmonger. If he does come back, you could see a character like that maybe wiggle their way. Like I said, at one point, I think Loki could have been on the Avengers. Obviously, he's on his own path now, but yeah, I don't think Doom will ever be hang out in whatever Avengers compound is.
Yeah. All right, last one. After Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel will bring a recurring show or anthology series focused on exploring the characters in the multiverse.
So is it a show? So it's not like What If, right? It's not like
no, it's not What
stories.
If. No.
It's like this is like a multiverse. It's
like you could do like thing. Maybe kind of like American Horror Story. Like maybe you're just focusing on one different Earth for a season, exploring that, and then next season completely different, not connected, just exploring it.
So let's say rumors true. Tom Cruise is playing a version of Iron Man. He's in the movie. And then 2 years later, they announce, hey, we're going to do an Iron Man series with Tom Cruise. 6 episode out, in and out, done, right? Something like that, where it's like, this is just something I want so bad. Like, I want to say fact because I think that's a really cool, like the anthology idea is really cool. I'll say, because did you use the words live action?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'll say fact because I think they could almost use it as an offshoot of What If, as far as like even then it's like if you liked an episode of What If, we're gonna do a whole season about being in that world or something like that. Like if they say there's gonna be one for every movie, so they put out 23 and there's 4 that specifically really talked to people, like something like, well, they probably wouldn't do it now because of the unfortunate events, but like say back in the past, like T'Challa as Star-Lord, that could be tons of potential, lots of fun, right? So I could see that, and I really want that. I want last 2 weeks, Christopher Comic Club, we did What Ifs, and those are always fun to say, okay, what would have happened, and that's why I think animation could be the route because they could do voices again. But if not, yeah, sure. If we see Tom Cruise as Iron Man, they say we're going to do 3-4 episodes of a series, just what his life was, bring it. I want it. So I'll say fact, but I'm not too confident on it because What If might be too similar, but I want it.
I love the idea. I'm going to say fact also, especially with that animation caveat in there, that's an option for it. Initially, at first I thought you meant like Toby Maguire was going to come back, and we're going to get like six,
yeah.
or
God.
like we're going to get Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage is rolling back up for Ghost Rider or something like that. And I was like, I don't see that kind of stuff happening. But if it can be new actors playing the parts or whatever, and not counting Loki, which is kind of what we're talking about already. But yeah, I'll still go with fact. I think we'll get something like that.
I would love if they did like Ghost Rider, like Taylor's love it. He's running around his apartment right now or something like that. But like, I would love it if they did bring him back as Ghost Rider, but it was to set up like a future with a Robbie Reyes or something, like him being like the older one, because it's just like, or even like how they do the old Ghost Rider who's like the cowboy. If he played that, obviously it's not playing the exact Ghost Rider Giant Blaze, but I would love that because you got to give him like a crazy kooky role. He can't play serious roles anymore. Like he can try, but I think the last time I saw him do that successfully was probably Kick-Ass, and even that was kind of like very Adam Westy. So I would love to see Nick Cage use like that. Toby, oh, that'd be great. I'm still waiting for Spider-Man 4. You guys remember a couple of years ago when Marvel tweeted out that 4 logo with Web?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That was so hilarious. I was dying after that.
And if we don't get this show, I've said this before, same thing. It's like, I'm so happy, check out DC Lines, that they are doing the Superman Christopher Reeves and the Batman 89 comic books. Perfect. I hope those are massive hits, successful, and Marvel's just like, let's copy that formula, and I hope we get that. But as a show, no, I don't see Toby swinging around on Disney Plus, unfortunately. I would love it, but no.
Yeah, I'm fact is because these stories kind of like What If open up to so many possibilities. Like you can never run out of different things. And, for crying out loud, like one of my favorite kind of ideas would be Earth X, bringing that concept, and animation opens up to so many more opportunities. So, but yeah, we look forward to what the fans and listeners have to say, and how crazy am I?
Do you remember what that 4 was counting down to?
Wasn't it the J.J. Abrams storyline? Yep. Yeah, I never finished.
I just finished it like 2 weeks ago on Marvel Unlimited. It was all right, but
it was written with his son, right?
Yeah, with his son. Yeah, I thought it started stronger than it ended, but that was so funny. Everyone thought, oh my God, Spider-Man 4 is coming. I was just cracking up. I'm like, there's no way.
Tim apparently is not over it.
I'm not. I'm actually. I'm not in the sense of like. I wasn't expecting a movie. I was never that, but I did think we were getting the comic book. I thought, oh, this is gonna be fun. Even though I don't know how much I need to see Voltress on the paper, as that was going to be Anne Hathaway's role as far as Spider-Man 4. I don't think I need to see Vulture's daughter, but hey, why not? And with Sam Raimi directing Multiverse Madness, it could open up possibilities. Say, hey, would you like to write a comic book? Would you like to? There's potential there, but that was crushing. That.
Well, talking about comic books, nice little segue for revealing. We talked about last week. Y'all voted for the Ultimates universe, so we gave you 4 options, and one. It wasn't the one I thought was going to be a no vote at that point. So the Ultimate storyline, Homeland Security, no votes whatsoever. I thought that was going to be Fantastic Four, but I think the crossover thing, the Marvel Zombies introduction, was probably what was getting some people interested in it. But it was very close between what Return to Weapon X and Ultimate 6, but Ultimate 6 just slightly edged out. So we will be looking at Ultimate 6. So it starts off, the prelude starts off in Ultimate Spider-Man number 46, and then the 7-issue series, Ultimate 6, 1 through 7. All this is on Marvel Unlimited. It is not on Comixology Unlimited necessarily, so you might have to pick that up, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I know Brent being as big a Spider-Man fan at that point, I know I love this series, so I'm grinning inside, but I know you've got a bigger grin inside going on.
Oh yeah, I mean this series is fantastic, and I'll be honest, I was looking at it, and I in my head I was kind of pulling for 2 of them, and this was one of the ones I was pulling for. So I'm not upset at all. I'm ready to go. I have not read Ultimate Spider-Man in far too long anyway, so if anything, this is just going to make me go back and look at more of that once we're done with these 8 issues or whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's a good jumping on point. It is basically their version of the Sinister Six, but it's a good team up between Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate. So, you kind of get the best of both worlds going on.
Yeah, like I said, when I read this comic some of the last week, this was the formula for me being like, this is how I want to do Sinister Six one day. I don't want just Spider-Man versus Sinister Six. I would need some heroes helping them out. And yeah, that's if you believe in fate, then that must have been it, because Brent, taking over next week, and now the first comic club is Spider-Man, the first time it's happened. So yeah, that's fate right there. So I'm excited. Yep. I'm the same as Brent, where I haven't read it in a little bit, but I've been threatening myself to reread it with all my other backlog stuff, and then once that omnibus comes, I say, oh, maybe I'll wait till then. But I still, even if I'm not on the show, I'm going to be reading to follow forward and whatnot. So I'm very excited to hear that breakdown.
Well, it's that time, Travis. The end of
the show. It is, yeah. It's the curtain call for a little bit. Like I said, I'll be back next week. I'll be back in April. Carl, you can say I'm ruining the show. Guess what? I'll come back to ruin it a little bit more. I'll be energized, but no. Luckily, sometimes with my job, I can be like, hey, this day I need to leave a few hours early, and you'll see this ugly mug around here. So you can find me at Travis B. Snail. You can find me at Geek First. You can find me on here, Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'll be still popping up. Like I said, I pop up on DCA. I owe Katie a Star Wars appearance, stuff like that. So you'll always see me around. I've told people before, I'm like Thor at the end of Age of Ultron. I'm going to look for Infinity Stones, but you'll see me popping up. You'll see me having naked baths with the Hulk and everything like that, stuff like that. So, yes, I thank you to everyone again who's listened to the show, who's followed me on Twitter, who's been messaging me for the show, that's enjoyed the show, and new people I've met. And again, a big thank you to Brent for taking the shield and everything like that, and a big thank you to Chris for holding down, Marvel Alliance compound. So, yes, just a big thank you and a big, love you 3000, everybody. So but as the movies go, Travis Snail will return.
Brent, your first sign off.
Yeah, first official sign off, I guess. I will do my best, Travis, not to let you down and work in a food pun here and there, but no one can quite get to the master of what you do with it. So I will just one day I will just say appreciate the listeners giving me a shot, joining your show, and while I'm mourning my lack of the Wednesday morning drive now for what I'm going to listen to. So, well, here we are.
We've got some fun stuff planned. Brenda and I have been talking for a little bit, so we've even got some. I think we've got already next week's end credits already kind of talked about.
Oh, very excited!
Yes,
those are evil laughs. And I've no people. I'm like I have no idea. I'm not privy to any of this. I'm just gonna be tuning in Wednesday, tuning in the chat sometimes. I'll be like Doctor Strange, just watching from afar. So those are some evil laughs. So that just even then, check in for next week.
Yep. So, but yes, thank you everyone for joining. Sorry we had that technical difficulties. Those of you listening, you don't know about those technical difficulties, but for those of you who listen,
I apologize so much because legitimately, Chris was here. It worked twice. Remember, it worked twice. The video and everything. I was like, we're good to go. And I paused it, muted it, but of course, when Showtime's on, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna fuck you over in your last show, internet. I was like, okay, fine. What did I do? It's probably Carl, but yeah, I will say that if, like I said, in the audio, it's already there, but in the video, it will be re-edited and put in there. The link will be down below. Definitely watch the video one. It features a lot of GUA people, a lot of fun stuff. And it's already on YouTube right now if you're watching live, so you can go watch it. It was a really fun video. I think everyone, it's worth just to see some strange auditions that happened.
Yeah, so I'll definitely have to check that out. But again, thank you all for joining us tonight. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow me personally at Chris Balga. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide fact or fictions, feedback, questions. Continue to do that. Continue to rate and review the network on Apple Podcasts, whichever platform of choice may be. Again, thank you, listeners who joined us. Thank you for dealing with the technical difficulties. We'll be a little bit better next week. It'll be my first time running this, so who knows? Technical difficulties we'll improve those. So, but thank you all. Thank you, listeners in the audio world. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers.